Zach here, and another episode of the Used Car Dealer podcast post NIADA, where the whole entire conference was abuzz, all about AI. And today I'm joined by Ross Tinkham, the go-to-market leader at Podium, and Alex Lawrence, the CEO of EV Auto, which is a Podium dealership customer. So Ross brings extensive experience in leveraging AI to enhance dealership communications, while Alex has had tremendous success in the used EV dealership space. So together they offer unique insights into how AI is reshaping customer engagement and sales in the auto industry. So guys, thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
So, to kind of kick things off, I'll start with you, Ross. Can you share your journey into the automotive tech industry and a little bit about your role at Podium for the audience?
Sure, absolutely. I entered the automotive industry about 10 years ago, coming up on just about a decade. And that was actually when I first joined Podium. So that was my first experience in the business on the vendor side, working with dealers, but spent a lot of time working with dealers, dealership groups, did a lot on like a partnership level for a period of time. And today I lead our automotive sales organization, and it's a ton of fun, and I think the industry's at a really exciting point. Lots of good things happening, lots of changes, twists and turns. So it's been an interesting journey.
And for Alex, talk to me about what inspired you to transition from academia to founding EV Auto, focusing exclusively on used EVs.
Yeah, no, I still teach. I'm a tenured professor. I teach one class is called Sales and AI Technology, and I teach that in the fall and the spring. And then I teach another sales class in the fall and the spring. So I haven't quit teaching yet. It's a challenge to manage both. But for me, it wasn't a transition. I'm an entrepreneur first, college professor second. I just turning 51, and so before I was a college professor, I'd already done 25 years as an entrepreneur, and I'm fortunate the university supports me still doing that. And so for me, it's so I think it's two parallel tracks that I travel on. But I've always been an early adopter for as long as I can remember. The latest gadget or video game or app or website has always been really fascinating to me. And so, my early experience with ChatGPT in December of 23, I guess it was, or was it 22? December of 22, right? Crazy. I had a visceral reaction to the product, both from a business perspective and as a college professor. And I started using it in my classes, having my students use it in January, which was quite controversial at the time. I mean, it's crazy. It landed me on the front page of the Wall Street Journal with my picture, and I was live on CNN debating this law professor on the value of it in the classroom and all that stuff. And so I've also been using it very, very early on in my business as well.
And how did both of your paths cross? So, what led to the collaboration between Alex, your dealership, EV Auto using Podium? Just tell me kind of how you found that product, like what void it was filling at your dealership.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I'm testing out all kinds of products. And a couple of years ago, there weren't as many as there are now. I love other Utah companies, but not enough to choose them just because of that. But Podium's headquarters and my business are in the same state. So I had certainly an awareness of them, but I'd never been a customer. I didn't have a business that made sense for Podium to be used. And so, when it came time for me to look at tools like this, they were a natural candidate. And during that process, they emerged as the best product. And so, I mean, that's totally unbiased, unpaid. I was a paying customer for a while before I became an ambassador or whatever you want to call it. And I was only willing to do that because I'm a paying customer. I'm not available for rent, and so or for sale in some cases. And so yeah, the product was great, and it's gotten better and better, and they're awesome to work with. I mean, they're really a pleasure to work with, and I'm fortunate I get to kind of push the envelope a little. I think, Ross, we've done some things that I was kind of an early beta tester, and I really relish that role. I really like giving product feedback, good, bad, and ugly, and Yeah, so it's been a kind of a gradual change in our the nature of our relationship.
And Alex, is kind of the main use cases with Podium, kind of the lead nurturing aspect and making sure, regardless of what hour of the day it is, that someone is managing that lead, whether it's sales or even other opportunities, trade in, etc.
Yeah, and products got a lot more powerful since I started using it, and so it can do a lot more. And I just opened up my first dealership that has a service center, and so we're training the AI to start working with that. So historically, we've used it for inbound sales support during business hours. And so as techie as I am, our dealership is built around that personal experience and that personal interaction, especially with EVs. People have tons of questions. And so during business hours, we certainly utilize Podium for their more than just the AI, but the phone systems and the payments and the Google reviews. And that's part of the reason why I love the product is it does so many things well. But we certainly have times where we can't answer our phones and we can't respond to all messages in a timely manner. So I actually hired a full-time person that manages our Podium.
Hmm.
And part of the reason we're very fortunate, our social media has grown dramatically. And so the number of inbound leads for us has exponentially multiplied. And so, it's gotten overwhelming. And so during business hours, we've got the AI tool that we call Amy that's well trained and doing her thing, in addition to Heather, who's our human, and of course some of our salespeople as well. And then after hours, we've got different options. We've got a generative AI tool that I've actually built that I'm using for voice calls, and then Podium handles all the after hours and closed hour text-based interactions.
So, Ross, I have kind of a follow-up to some of what Alex is mentioning. Kind of in your own words, how does Podium's AI BDC integrate with existing dealership systems to enhance customer communication?
Yeah, great question. So there's really 2 points of integration when it comes to lead engagement. So number one, like pretty much any dealer we're working with is using a CRM, and all those leads are obviously flowing into the CRM. So with certain systems, we can integrate to pull those leads into our platform for our AI to work those, engage in the conversation, etc. The other point of integration is how we take that data that is now housed in Podium and write it back into the dealer's CRM. And so it's really a pushing the leads into Podium, pulling the data from Podium back into the CRM. We do have, I think, especially on the independent side, maybe smaller operations that use Podium for a lot of the stuff you would probably use your CRM for, right? So like lead communication, we're supplying a phone system. So really any channel that that customer is looking to engage with the dealer on or through, we really support that with our infrastructure. So a lot of that is happening in Podium, and then the dealer might be using their CRM at the point of, let's say, desking a deal. So we certainly integrate. We don't integrate with everybody. You can't integrate with everybody the same way. It just really depends on the vendor and what APIs they make available, what data they're open to passing through. Kind of depends. But again, in some cases, we have dealers who are using Podium more for CRM type of task handling when it comes to front-end communication with prospects.
And, Alex, I wanted to ask you kind of a little deeper about like the implementation of Podium's AI tools and how it's not only impacted EV Auto's operations, but like what sort of changes or tweaks did you maybe make to existing workflows when you were thinking about like implementing this AI, Podium technology into your dealership?
Yeah, I mean, turning it on is easy. Getting it set up and getting it going, and the product's certainly gotten a lot better in its ability to train the AI. In the early stages as a beta tester, we spent a lot of time training the AI on not just how to answer questions, but how to do it in a voice that is our voice is very unique. We're very casual, very laid back, very relaxed, and I don't want aggressive follow-up. I don't want aggressive efforts to schedule test drives and some things that are very different from a lot of the use cases and customers that Podium has. And so, there's a learning curve for that. Its learning curve has gotten better and better over time, though. It's learning faster. And I'll give you a good example. We have an acquisitions business that acquires
Hmm.
cars from private party sellers. And where it's now managing inbound leads for people that want to sell us their car. And so we've been training it on how to ask those questions, which are different than when we're trying to sell a car. And its learning curve has been much better than, when I first started with this a year and a half ago, whatever it was. The onboarding process is easy. And especially if you're a dealership that, I know everybody says they're unique and there's some truth to that, but I mean, not a whole lot of EV only dealers out there. And
Definitely.
I also am not from the car business. And so I just refuse to do some of the things that are very common for lead nurturing in the car business. And so, not right or wrong, but I think out of the box, the AI tool they have is going to fit more dealers than it did me or will do me. But again, it's been a pretty easy process. It's got a lot easier over time. Like I said, I was one of their first users, so it was actually really painful at first. But that's how software development goes, and we learn together. And now, when I just turned on this other one, it's the first time I've had an opportunity to turn on something new and different. And my lead that's working that, it surprised me actually today, Ross. He's like, "Yeah, it's doing great." I mean, I was kind of expecting him to say, we're still kind of
Yeah.
training it, and he's like, "Yeah, pretty darn good," and it's only been a couple weeks.
Hmm.
So,
Zach, can I add maybe just a couple thoughts
Sure.
to that on that track? So I spent a lot of time talking about AI solutions in the market, right? Not just Podium and how to think about it, how to buy it. Most people haven't purchased this before, so you don't know the questions to ask or like what your expectations should be coming in because this is a new thing, right? And so I think that's totally fair. But the way I would frame it to the audience is what you get out of the box is generally going to be quite good. I'll call it a B or a B plus. But to really get that to an A, that's going to require partnership and investment from you, Mr. Dealer, right? Like the way
Mhm.
you want it to answer certain questions is certainly different than how some other folks would want it to handle that. And so we managed a lot of that in the initial onboarding. But I would say for that first 60 days, 90 days, like you're fine tuning. Like you're going to watch conversations, you're going to see things you love, you're going to see things you don't love, and you're going to want those addressed differently. And so I would just say, again, look for a product that is customizable to you and sort of the way you want to interact with customers, but just have open eyes and expectations that it's going to take some investment on your end to really get that to where you
yep,
want it to be. The great news is once you get it there, you don't have to go back and do it again. So anyway, just I think it's an important when you're thinking about leveraging AI, especially the first time, those are the right expectations to walk in with.
And Ross, I kind of had a follow-up to that. Like, how does Podium ensure that like AI-driven communications maintain a personalized and human-like touch? Like, what under the hood helps enable that, for the dealership?
Sure. No, that's a great question. I mean, so any AI solution that you'd be using is only as good as the data in which, you push into it. And so we do a lot with like a dealer's website, for instance, as a point of truth for things like inventory or feature function type of questions. And so there's ways that we would connect with a data source to ensure we're presenting accurate information. I think beyond that, though, like part of the secret sauce is, I mean, we are very much focused on human-like communication, and so it is far different than bot-like. And all I really mean by that is if somebody submits a question, you can obviously read the syntax and understand what they're asking, but like, is there some sort of emotional layer behind that question, right? Being able to like read for those things is really important to have that type of human-like engagement. And so I think the way that we've really deployed engineering resources around it are to have the most conversational human-like agent in the market, and that's just where we focus a lot of our time and effort to get it there. So yeah.
And Ross, a follow-up to that, with the rise of digital retail, how are customer expectations evolving and how does AI address these changes?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I mean, digital retailing's been an interesting uh, thing to watch unfold really coming out of COVID, right? There was a rush for DR tools. I think some dealers have found success in weaving those into their processes. Some, frankly, have not. Probably depends on how you talk to and how they implemented it. I guess I would answer the question this way, that as consumers, we all want personalized, frictionless, immediate experiences with any brand that we're interacting with. So if I come to your website with a question, my expectation is that someone gets back to me quickly with the information that I'm looking for. and in a personalized way. And that's really where I think AI can shine. I mean, we don't do DR specifically through our platform, but we have a lot of dealers that do use a DR tool. And based on certain prompts or questions from a prospect, we can sort of pick a path. Do we want this customer to go down the path to get into the store, or do we want to continue to qualify and push them into our DR experience that's living on our website? So, I mean, I've seen it done all sorts of ways. But again, for folks who really are leveraging DR and it's doing well for the store, we can work with them to ensure that our agent is pushing the right people into that process at the right time and helping to collect some of that information that they would need on the front end of that conversation.
And Alex, I wanted to ask you and get your thoughts on DR specifically, kind of in the used EV market that you play in, and maybe other kind of interesting trends you've observed as well, kind of in the EV market.
Yeah, I'm a contrarian car dealer in a lot of ways. I think, based on how Tesla sells a car, for example, zero interaction from a car dealer. You make like four or five selections and you hit the checkout box and you're done. And I don't know if you saw just recently, they had a car deliver itself from the factory.
Mhm.
The customer went 72 miles an hour on the freeway with no one in it and things like that. And so, but we're actually going against the grain. I don't do any digital retailing. I want people to come in. And the reason is, 80, 90% of my customers have never purchased an EV before and they have lots of questions. And our experience when people come in is zero pressure, super light, one person, no back end, no F&I. It is all digital in terms of the paperwork. Somebody can get in and out of here in 20 minutes. So we're trying to build a reputation. Hey, if you go by this place and ask a lot of questions and leave, they won't push you. You can just stop in and ask questions. And if you want to buy a car, great. If you don't, don't. And so that's tough to replicate online. And so I do sell a lot of cars out of state, again, mostly from social media. So we're doing things like FaceTime calls and recorded videos and things like that to show, what the car looks like more than just photos. But outside of that, with digital retailing and other EV specific dealers around the country, I think they're largely experiencing the same thing because again, it's not like you're buying a Ford F-150. Those haven't changed much over time. They're more of a commodity. People don't have a lot of questions. And so they're fine buying those through a digital retailing experience. Oftentimes they prefer that because, like I said, they don't have any questions. They don't want to be bothered. And so, I think it's just kind of interesting because the leader in the market is a total digital retail experience. It's as much as you get. Yet the used folks, at least the ones that are popping into my head, are really, more focused on that in-person experience, like I am.
And also, Alex, I had a question, and maybe some of the dealers listening have the same question as well, but what were some of the challenges you faced in kind of establishing a used only EV dealership? And I'm curious, I know technology, of course, played a real role in helping scale that, but curious what some of the other learnings were from opening EV only used dealership.
Yeah, it'll be 6 years in December since we started. We've got two dealerships and a third opening here in the fall. Um, and EVs are the most volatile vehicle in the history of automotive. And so that right there can tell you some of the challenges of managing inventory that fluctuates. And it also is very unusual that kind of sort of one person can change a market for a vehicle, that person being Elon Musk. And so, it just requires a lot of diligence, a lot of focus. And that's part of our competitive advantage because it's all we do. Whenever we get gas cars on trade, we immediately wholesale them, all of them. And that will never change. And so, the challenges are it's a very volatile marketplace. It's interesting that it's not really a challenge. I mean, it is, I suppose, but a lot more dealers are interested in selling them. So we've seen a lot more competition on the acquisition side than there was a few years ago. And there's a variety of reasons for that. But, I run a very lean operation. Our overhead is extremely low compared to other dealers, but our volume is really good. And so, digital tools, technology, process, all those things. We really try and optimize those. My background's in tech and for the last decade. Before we just start throwing people at the problem, it really kind of blows my mind how many people a lot of these dealerships have working there and what it produces. It's just that's why I think they've got these low single digit. Well, it is why they have these low single digit margins. And so anyway, long answer to a short question, but we're using technology everywhere I can find it, with the exception of, like I said, some of the in-person stuff that's kind of old school that we think is unique to products that most people have never experienced before.
Well put. And I want to move on to kind of future outlook and innovation in the industry. And Ross, I'll go back to you. What are some upcoming features or innovations that Podium is developing for dealerships?
Yeah. So we have spent really the past few years really just staying narrowly focused on optimizing our sales agent, right? And so still work to do there. We feel it's in a pretty good spot. And I think the natural progression is what other problems can we solve for the dealer, and for a lot of folks, it's on the service side of the business. I mean, if you want to talk about an area that is just ripe to be optimized, just the amount of missed phone calls, challenges with engagement, the volume that they're dealing with. And so we are really working over the next quarter. Well, I guess, yeah, we're in Q3, July 1 today, rolling out a service offering. I think it sounds like Alex maybe has been playing a role in betaing that product. But we'll be going to market as we continue through the quarter. I think a core component to that, though, is voice AI. And I think, again, from our perspective, like there's folks doing it today. Like there are service-only voice AI offerings that exist in the market. People are using them. I'm sure they do a pretty darn good job. But voice AI is not quite to the level of human-like engagement that asynchronous communication is. And it's just really the latency and speed of the conversation, and the fact that AI has to ping a bunch of things to formulate an answer, and it really has to do that in real time, as you and I are sitting here engaging in an actual conversation. But when it comes to like where does that optimization, like where is the opportunity? A lot of it's on scheduling service appointments. Service schedulers have a pretty high abandonment rate. It's tough to get through on the phone. And so, yes, we're moving with a service offering, but a core component of that will be a very high quality voice offering to really help in managing that inbound service scheduling load that comes in every day of the week. So that's where we're focused next, and I'm sure it's going to take us some time to really nail and get right out there in the market, but that's where we're going next through the back half of the year.
Really exciting, Ross. And of course, fixed ops are a huge part of the business. So, Alex, for you, any kind of expansion plans for EV Auto or exciting things to come in 2025?
Yeah, like I said, we're opening our third dealership in Nashville, Tennessee. When we started this, like 5.5+ years ago, the plan from day one was to be the world's largest seller and servicer of used EVs. And so we've got a big footprint, a big dream, and we have an offer on a fourth location that we hope goes through. And then I have ideas of where number five and number six and number seven and so forth are going to go. And so if we keep on the trajectory we've been on, those will happen. And so, we added our first service center to our newest location, and it's a 4-bay EV only service center, and it's been extremely busy with no advertising at all. And so we're bullish on that. We also have some mobile cyber trucks and trailers that do mobile repair in Denver, Colorado, and in St. George, Utah. And then we've got one rolling out in Orange County, California. And so we've got a mobile service business, and a few other things we haven't announced yet as a part of our vertical integration of all things EV that are really exciting. So we're going to be the accelerator is going to be to the floor from now till the end of this year for sure.
That's exciting. And I love Nashville too. But quick question, when you talk about doing EV service, like what's the difference for those listening? Like if you were doing like a standardized vehicle doing service, like average independent versus what you're doing service on EV vehicles that are heavy on the technology side. Just curious about that.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the great things about EVs is their low need for service, right? That's one of the sales pitches, if you will. They don't have hardly any moving parts. They have very few fluids. Just not a lot of things that can wear out or be corroded and things like that. So you say that on one side of your mouth, and then you say you've got a service center out the other side. It's like, well, wait a minute. And there's two things there. I mean, one, Teslas have been on the road since 2013. So, everything has a life to it, although EV stuff is much longer, apples to apples than ICE vehicles. And so, but we do tires, we do brakes, we do air cabin filters, we do 12-volt batteries. Those are all things that wear out. And but we also do things like cameras and computer stuff, other things like control arms and air conditioning units and stuff like that. Those have problems. And the interesting thing about EV service is obviously there's not as many on the road. They don't have as many problems. But the profit in a service business is the labor more so than the parts, right? And all of the EV stuff is labor heavy. And so the margins are good. And so the challenge is most people that drive an EV, the challenge for traditional dealers, most people that drive an EV think their car is special. They think it's unique and different from a gas car. And they're true in many instances. And so they don't love taking their Tesla into a Jiffy Lube or the Ford dealer nearby or whatever. And Tesla, oftentimes is a very long wait. And so, I think the reason we're so busy is because we fill that gap. You don't have to wait a long time. We're EV only. All of our techs are certified and stuff like that. And then our online brand, our reputation, we're the highest rated dealership on Google in the state of Utah, new or used. And so, they read about us, they hear about us, they follow us on social media, and their comfort level is high. So when you throw all those into a pile, there's a big market to go after for EV service.
Really cool. And my next question, it's for both of you. How do you both envision the future of AI in automotive retail over the next few years?
You
So
want to go
maybe
first?
Ross,
Yeah,
I'll start with you.
sure. Yeah, I'm happy to take that one first. I think listen, we're really just getting started here, I guess, right? That'd be the statement I would make first. Mentioned at the NIDA conference last week, took kind of a quick poll who's using an AI solution or has tried one, maybe a third of the room raised their hand. So take that sample size for what it's worth. But a lot of folks have not necessarily stepped into this yet, or have tried it a few years ago, didn't work well, and are hesitant to try it again. So I think number one, the adoption curve, like we're going to continue to ride through that. You'll see more and more folks. It's going to be the folks who aren't using an AI solution will be rare compared to the folks that do. In terms of product functionality and the problems and use cases it addresses, we're just going to see those expand. I think sort of our perspective is specialized agents trained to do the job. That is the strategy. And right now we're talking about a lead engagement agent and a service engagement agent. But there's a lot of other tasks happening in the dealership, right, where AI agents could assist. And so I just think you'll see a lot of different new companies pop up, maybe focused on solving specific problems, and then some of the larger players start to develop more specialized agents to run against new and different tasks for the dealer. But I'll go back to where I started, where we're really just getting started here. It's going to be really fascinating and interesting to see how things change and what it looks like in the next 6 to 12 months for sure.
Yeah, so depends on how far out you want to go, Zach. You want to go a
Two,
year, five,
3 years,
two,
kind
three
of.
years? Yeah, I would say, it'll be at the dealer's disposal, right? They can choose how AI oriented they want to be. So I'm just going to talk about the most extreme example because you can scale back from there. So in 2 to 3 years, I think a dealer will be able to choose a phone and text solution that will be indistinguishable from a human that works in their dealership, that talks the way they want to, that replies the way they want to. And it'll be, phone call and text. Those are the only two interactions that aren't in person. And I think it'll be indistinguishable, should they choose. And they'll be able to do all the things that you hope your employee would do at a near perfect rate. So whether that's follow up, outbound, inbound, certain number of phone calls per day, all those kinds of things. I think they'll be, batting 1,000 on being able to complete those and complete them equal to or better than a human. I also think, outside, we're talking AI in general. I think you're going to see other, dealers that have cars that can legally self-drive. They'll be offering delivery, much like Tesla will. And so You'll see some other AI enabled things that aren't just phone calls and text messages. I think you're also going to see, AI tools that will help with acquisition, buying cars from private party sellers, that will help with strategy, that will look for ways to optimize the business financially. So there's a lot of AI tools that'll be unleashed that'll, be doing some deep analysis and some deep strategy and unlocking, opportunities that humans certainly can, but maybe you're resource restricted, or, maybe the talent that you have is A minus and you need A plus and things like that. So I also think cost is going to continue to go down, just like any technology. As more competitors come into the market, technology gets better and faster. I think you'll see prices go down, not to the point where it's not profitable for companies like Podium, but I think the consumer will benefit because there will be a lot of companies that will enter. And so, yeah, I think it can touch every part of the dealership, and then you could even argue beyond that you might have some robots that are, for in-person
Hmm.
stuff or in the service center. It's certainly longer than 2 to 3 years that can take that to, a whole new level of creepiness for some, excitement for others. And so that's a decade out, but yeah, that's kind of my look into the future.
Yeah, love that vision you painted, Alex. And just the fact that Tesla is doing like a self-delivery even today is kind of crazy, eerie, interesting. So definitely a fun future and AI to look out for. So the last part of the podcast, I want to do a rapid fire segment. I have three questions and just want to get kind of your thoughts, like one or two, sentence answers. So the first one is, what is your guys' favorite EV model currently on the market? We could start, Alex, with you.
Sedan, SUV, truck, like you got to narrow it down. I mean, I don't know. Shoot. Gosh, daily driver or just dreamy
We'll do daily driver.
Cybertruck?
Nice. How about you, Russ?
Oh man, I was going to say the same thing. So that's lame that I followed up with his same answer. But yeah, listen, I have an EV infrastructure where I live is not great. But if it was a different story, I think Cybertrucks are sweet and unique, and they're polarizing, and I like things that are polarizing. So yeah.
And there's a daily driver with full self-driving, four-wheel steering, steer-by-wire, massive visibility, super quiet, super comfortable. Take the looks outside of it and the utility of a bed with a tonneau cover. I mean, they really are a very pleasant car to drive.
Definitely. If I didn't live in San Francisco and had to parallel park, I would consider one. I just got or just
It
leased a
parallel parks
Mercedes
itself.
EQ.
Zach, it parallel
True,
parks
but
itself.
those spaces are like tight.
Yeah, either way, yeah. Yeah.
So, second question, one word to describe the future of automotive retail, or even a sentence.
We take that first. That's a good question. I mean, I just innovation and I think operational excellence to a whole new level. Again, you just think about um, where AI is going and what it opens up a dealer for from just an efficiency standpoint. But just innovation. I mean, again, I've been in this for 10 years. I know there's a lot of folks listening who've been in auto far longer than that. And it's just always an interesting journey. You don't know what's coming next, but it's, one of our most durable markets here in the US and always finds a way to win and succeed. So yeah, just continued innovation.
More disruption than any time in automotive history.
Wow, profound. And the last question, most exciting tech trend you're following right now?
Really for me, I think it's just all things AI, right? And there's a lot to that, but that is absolutely the trend to follow.
Yeah, I mean, certainly hard not to just say I agree, but I'll say even more specific, generative voice. Um, you know, I've been piloting stuff for a while and it's finally getting to a B level, B plus maybe. Um, and I mean, I have big scale issues if I really want to do everything I dream of. And that scale is a lot of it's limited by the telephone. And so whether inbound or outbound. So, I mean, I I can think of other hardware-oriented things, car-oriented things. But yeah, I'd say generative voice is probably what I'm watching the closest right now.
Yeah, definitely agree with you, Alex. I've seen some of that, like people out here are advertising SDRs that are essentially AI generative voice SDRs. So lot going on in the space. And I'll leave it at that. I really enjoyed the episode, both with you, Ross, and Alex. It's been extremely educational, and I'm sure for all the listeners as well, it's been a AI 101 course on this podcast. So thanks both of you guys for joining me today.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Zach. It was fun.